Fiddler Club is a private city club in the heart of Center City, designed as a third space for the modern city dweller, equal parts professional, social, and cultural hub. Located across from 30th Street Station, there's a boutique hotel with 14 thoughtfully designed rooms, perfect for members, friends, and family. And membership gets you access to dining, events, and a full fitness suite with an indoor pool, climbing wall, and spa services. Fiddler Club's work and innovation hub, ideal for entrepreneurs, remote workers, and teams of colleagues. And when you're thinking about work, there's everything from shared desks to private offices and boardrooms. Learn more about Fiddler Club becoming your third space, where work, community, and leisure intersect. Get more details at fiddlerclub.com/CityCast membership. The city's budget has officially passed for the 2026 fiscal year, and this includes a big win for the arts and cultural sector, $5 million for the Philadelphia Cultural Fund. Now, this comes at a crucial time with major federal funding cuts, and many cultural organizations around the region are feeling the strain. Today, I'm speaking with Patricia Wilson-Aden, President and CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance, about the state budget negotiations and the trickle-down effects this all has on our creative economy. It's Wednesday, June 25th. I'm Trinina Reed, and here's what Philly's talking about. Patty, your organization is the voice to over 400 member organizations that make up the region's cultural community. What does the advocacy group do?
Well, it's just as you said, we are the voice of the cultural sector. That cultural sector is diverse in geography. We reach not only Philadelphia, but into the collar counties as well. Diverse in discipline. We represent those disciplines that are traditionally associated with the cultural sector, performing arts, the visual arts. But we define arts and culture very, very broadly to include the crafts movement. We include heritage sites, horticultural sites. We're also diverse as far as budgets are concerned. We represent large signature organizations such as the Philadelphia Museum of Art, the Barnes Foundation, the Kimmel Center. But we also represent those tiny, tiny arts and cultural organizations that are embedded in neighborhoods. So what we hope to do is to amplify the concerns of those organizations, but we also emphasize what they bring to our community. The Philadelphia region's cultural sector is a huge economic engine, but it also fuels the well-being of our residents, and we want to lift that up. We want to really underscore that arts and culture is essential to a vibrant city. And we also want to ensure that arts and culture is always considered in our civic decision-making.
I'm sure there's specific needs for each of the member organizations, but overall, what are the most immediate needs of member groups?
Stability and sustainability. These are organizations that traditionally rely upon the philanthropic community. They also generate earned income through ticket sales. But these are variables, and it is very difficult as times change to ensure that we can continue to deliver those vibrant educational programs, the performances, the exhibits, all of those things that are signatures of our creative community. So we are hopeful that as we face this tumult generated by the Trump administration, we'll come out the other side with some strategies that will encourage sustainability of the arts and culture sector. As you know, federal funding from traditional federal sources such as the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and other sources have been cut. And organizations within the cultural sector are reeling because of that. So this sends a very strong signal that we have to identify other sources, more reliable sources, such as a dedicated arts fund. A dedicated arts fund is a strategy that is used in other cities and regions across the country, yet the Philadelphia region does not benefit from one. And we're hoping that this is the moment where our civic leaders will step forward to say, this is the time. We are very grateful for the support of local donors, local philanthropies, but we are in need of other tools because of this whiplash that has been caused at the federal level.
Tell me more specifically about these federal cuts, especially from the DOGE or the Department of Government Efficiency. What are some of the effects of these cuts?
Beginning in January, what we've seen is almost weekly changes. It started first with the Institute for Museum and Library Services, which supports many of our museums. The NEH, National Endowment for the Humanities, was next under attack, and then the National Endowment for the Arts. In many instances, organizations received very cryptic emails, sometimes arriving in the middle of the night. In many instances, they didn't appear to be governmental emails, but in effect, they, in very terse language, said that your contract is ended, your grant, it has been terminated. These are contractual agreements that were abruptly ended. And organizations, first of all, are scrambling to find out accurate information about the status of these grants. These are grants that, in many instances, had already been approved and programming had already started. People have been hired. Funds have been committed. Organizations had programs underway or were planning programs based upon those agreements. To have them abruptly withdrawn without explanation has taken their eye off of offering those valuable programs as they've tried to discern exactly what's going on.
So are productions, art exhibits, cultural events being shut down?
Absolutely. Shut down or somehow restructured. We've had instances where productions are delayed. In other instances, contracts with curators, performers, and others have had to be terminated. We have had calendars, programming calendars, turned upside down because of this.
Patty, can you give us like some specific productions that maybe were impacted?
Sure. So if you think about the work done by the Germantown, Greater Germantown Preserved, this is an instance where federal funding was pulled mid-project from a year-long school program that really lifted up children's experiences in history and science. And that program had to be terminated. It was a pilot program. The same organization was a pass-through funding a Juneteenth program at the Johnson House. That was a $29,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. And that particular program will not happen. So it's been terminated. In other instances, we have the Arch Street Meeting House and the Conservation Center for Art and Historic Objects losing their grants. So these are organizations that have reliably provided really innovative programming to the Philadelphia area, and they've lost their funding. Therefore, that has resulted in a loss to Philadelphia. Young people, seniors, and others who would have benefited from these programs.
Along with those productions and those cultural events, I mean, has the federal cuts also impacted, basic functions of these organizations within the creative ecosystem?
So what it's meant is that as organizations have scrambled to manage the impact, it has affected operations for these organizations. The Cultural Alliance did a survey in collaboration with PA Humanities. We conducted that survey across the state, And what we found is that 54% of organizations said that disruption of their federal funding would impact their cash flow and their payroll.
When did you do that survey?
The survey was initiated about a month ago. It is wrapping up. It is a statewide survey, but the Philadelphia Cultural Alliance is responsible for organizations in the southeastern Pennsylvania region. And as I said, it does affect operations. When you have an impact to cash flow and payroll of 54% of organizations responding to this survey, that sends a signal that, as I said earlier on, the variability of organizations, cultural organizations to function is being impacted in a very dire way.
Patty, you did mention possibly creating a dedicated art fund. Where would that money come from? Private dollars, grassroots avenues? Basically, I want to know, what strategies do you have in mind to make sure that our region's arts and culture community isn't left out and that money really reaches into the hands of creatives?
So that's a complex equation to work out. There are several strategies that we are investigating. The strategies that have been successful across the country include modest taxes. In some instances, there have been bond issues. What we have found is that the most successful initiatives are ones in which there is perhaps a percentage of an existing tax, an amusement tax, a hospitality tax, a cigarette tax, and a percentage of that is dedicated to arts and culture, which means that there's an ongoing source of that revenue. In other instances, we have seen, for example, in Seattle, where it was a component of an educational initiative, recognizing that arts and culture contributes to the educational attainment of young people. There was a bond to support education. It included a dedicated fund. So there are many strategies. We are investigating those strategies now. What will work best? We realize that this is a political question, and we are hopeful that our representatives on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, who have recognized all of the qualities, all of the benefits offered by arts and culture, supporting youth development, supporting workforce development, supporting economic impact, the wellness of our seniors. Understanding all of those qualities will encourage them to support a dedicated fund. So we will be investigating strategies where perhaps a percentage of an existing tax, whether it's the cigarette tax, the hospitality tax, the amusement tax, might be dedicated to arts and culture to ensure that Philadelphia and its region continues to benefit from all of the qualities contributed by arts and culture organizations.
How much money do you think that you would need to properly fund all of the member organizations?
Well, that's something we're investigating right now. What we do know is that arts and culture contributes some $4.1 billion to the region's economy. And so when we look at all of the support, public dollars that are invested in, for instance, the sports industry, that doesn't have the commensurate economic and social impact, we're saying, we need our share. The studies that we are about to undertake will calculate exactly how much will be needed. It is part of that calculus that will make this a credible endeavor, and one where we don't have to go back again and again. We want to ensure that this is not a painful investment, but it is perceived not only by our civic decision makers, but by cultural consumers as an investment in everything that arts and culture brings to the region.
We'll have more on this conversation after the break. Looking for some Philly fun out in the water? The Philadelphia Canoe Club is hosting their annual open house on Sunday, June 29th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be live music, free canoeing and kayaking at the Wissahickon Creek, and a sale on used gear. All equipment is provided. There's also going to be food and drinks. So come celebrate the club's 120th anniversary at the historic old mill house with a day of fun and community. Come to 4900 Ridge Avenue by the Wissahickon Transportation Center. Enjoy nature and connect with an active paddling club. For more information, check out philacanoe.org. We all know Philadelphia is a revolutionary city, full of American firsts. But did you know that Philly is home to America's first penitentiary? It started as a bold 19th century experiment to reimagine the criminal justice system in America, and it continues today with Eastern State. Eastern State is a nonprofit dedicated to deepening our collective understanding of the criminal justice system. On the grounds of Eastern State Penitentiary Historic Site, open to the public every day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., tours, exhibits, and programs illuminate the powerful history and legacy of this iconic Philadelphia landmark. And the Eastern State Center for Justice Education, a nationally recognized voice in criminal justice education, serves as a catalyst for workforce development and a connection point that provides online and in-person opportunities for engagement, dialogue, and impact. Visit easternstate.org to learn more, plan your visit, and get involved. Discover, discuss, share at Eastern State. Hey, CityCast Philly listeners. If you're thinking about getting a new car, now is the time, and Jeff D'Ambrosio is the place. With all the talk about tariffs and rising prices, Jeff is going all out this June with employee pricing, Jeff's exclusive discounts, and zero tariff impact on any vehicle in stock. You can save up to $15,000 on a brand new Jeep, Ram, or Dodge, and drive with monthly payments as low as $199. He's the #1 Jeep and Ram dealer in the Mid-Atlantic, with the biggest inventory and a customer service experience that's second to none. You'll be welcomed by a friendly team, and even Jeff himself stops by to offer honest advice. Whether it's a Jeep Grand Cherokee, Ram 1500, Dodge Charger EV, or a luxury Alfa Romeo, Jeff D has it all. Check it out at gojeffauto.com. Then head to Jeff D'Ambrosio Auto Group, the #1 destination in Downingtown. Nobody treats you better, nobody saves you more. You just made an interesting point, kind of like the key leverage points for the arts. City and state lawmakers are going through budget negotiations right now. So a lot of Philadelphians, a lot of Pennsylvanians are thinking about how we're going to fund SEPTA. How are we going to fund public safety measures? Do you feel that the arts are top of mind for folks?
We realize that our communities face many, many challenges right now. Our elected officials are making tough decisions. So there's a larger context here, but no other industry has the kind of broad impact, both economic impact and social impact, as our creative industry. And that's what we're trying to really emphasize. As decisions are made, we want to ensure that arts and culture is understood as having far-reaching impact. It is not a silo. This is not an instance where your dollar to that organization is a dollar to that organization, because arts and culture reaches into the vitality of our neighborhoods. It contributes to the revitalization of our commercial districts. It contributes to the educational attainment of our young people. So we believe that as very difficult, very challenging decisions are made, there's a place for arts and culture. And what we hope is that during these very challenging times. Arts and culture funding at the city level and at the state level is at least stabilized. We can't go back. We can't lose this vital resource during this time when so many other resources are being clawed back. We want to ensure that our children, our seniors, our cultural consumers can continue to enjoy and benefit from the offerings of arts and culture experiences.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to hear live music and go to a show. Patty, do you feel like there's blind spots that our city leaders or state leaders have when thinking about funding this ecosystem?
I want to hone in on two things. Arts and culture is not a nice to have. It is essential. It is core to the vitality of our cities. So if you think about what attracts visitors to Philadelphia and how important tourism and hospitality is to our overall economy, what attracts visitors in large part are our arts and culture experiences. We call arts and culture the magnet and the multiplier because that visitor who comes to Philadelphia for a theater experience is not only going to spend money at that theater, they're going to spend money as they park. They are going to go to a restaurant for dinner. They may even make a weekend of it and spend money at a hotel. We understand that visitors from other places, especially international visitors, if they have a cultural experience, they spend more and they stay longer. So as we look forward to 2026 and the hundreds of thousands of visitors that will be coming here, ensuring that arts and cultural experiences are part of that visit will ensure that small businesses in our neighborhoods benefit. So arts and culture is core, is essential to that vital community that we are all looking for. I also want to emphasize that as we make decisions regarding education and social services, arts and culture is integral to those industries and those operations as well. Many of our programs are embedded in social service organizations. Many of our organizations purposely partner with social service organizations. There's a tie between arts and culture and mental health. There's a tie between arts and culture and recidivism. There is a tie between arts and culture and the ability for people to feel safe in their neighborhoods. So we are emphasizing that core connection as we are encouraging our elected officials to understand that that investment, that relatively modest investment in arts and culture will help address social as well as economic issues and challenges that we are feeling at this moment.
I'm also curious about how you keep our creative community uplifted. It's a very challenging time, although this isn't the first time when the arts have dealt with some significant challenges. I'm thinking back to COVID-19 pandemic that upended so much of the industry. Also, there were major budget cuts that we saw within Mayor Jim Kenney's administration. So, Patty, how do you encourage your member organizations during this time?
I have to say, Trinae, it's tough. We are a resilient community. It seems that we are continually on the front line. There was the Great Recession, there was the pandemic, and now we have this onslaught coming from the Trump administration. This is an instance where it is very, very difficult to maintain morale, maintain the energy that is needed to create, but we are a dedicated community. We are seeing arts and cultural organizations and creative workers rebound from the pandemic. And that's really the shame of what's going on right now, because we were seeing so many organizations come back to their pre-pandemic levels as far as audiences are concerned, as far as their programming is concerned. And now to be slapped down in this way makes it very difficult to move forward. We're very aware that Philadelphia is a talent incubator. And what we have to be focused on if we want to maintain this vital creative community is not only incubating the talent, but retaining the talent so artists and creative workers can practice their craft and thrive in Philadelphia, raise their families and live in Philadelphia. We are hoping that we will see some policies put in place that ensure that creative workers gain access to live workspaces. Creative workers are valued as really important contributors to our communities and have the policies in place that will support them.
Are you even seeing like creatives creating in response to this? Like, are they creating works or pieces or music or holding public forums about their frustrations about this?
Oh my gosh, yes. That's what we do. That is core to how we respond. There is a creative expression in response to these acts that are meant to repress and undermine creative expression. So that actually triggers a response. In many ways, it's a reaction to and a pushback to what is going on. Just as the arts and culture community has always provided a visual symbol, an artistic and creative response, we've seen it in the visual arts, we've seen it in the performing arts, we've seen it in so many instances where this has really generated and fueled creative expression. You probably know that protest art, in response to the murder of George Floyd, for instance, gave rise to further discussion. It cracked open discussion and discourse that was core to healing. So, yes, we are seeing that again in this moment where creatives are giving voice to and expressing not only what they're feeling, but the larger community might be feeling.
If you can, maybe give some examples of works that are being produced or that are coming out. And I was thinking, do you hear about any work that's on the way, like any big things that we could possibly see?
Well, I think I can point to work that is in production. The work of Art Philly. Art Philly is putting together a wonderful portfolio of work in anticipation of 2026. And in that instance, they are asking, what if? So they're asking the hard questions about our democratic experiment, our American experiment. So I am sure that the productions, the exhibits, all of the activities that are being curated by Art Philly 2026 will provide examples of how the creative community is responding to this moment where we have to examine what's going on with America. What is going on with our democracy? Artists are always at the forefront of asking those difficult and challenging questions and encouraging public discourse. I think Art Philly, as it rolls out its programming, will really ignite that kind of probing civic discourse.
And maybe outside of the impacts or the response to the federal cuts or the Trump administration, Patty, are there any recommendations for shows or other art experiences we should be checking out this summer in the Philadelphia area?
Yeah, there's a wealth of programming. Philadelphia never stops. Arts and culture never stops. So, whether you are looking for programming at the Arden Theater, or whether you're going to an exhibit at the Brandywine River Museum, whether you are, venturing to the African American Museum, there's always a wealth of enriching experiences here in Philadelphia. But going beyond supporting the organizations by purchasing tickets and availing yourselves of these opportunities, we're asking people to express their support for arts and culture, for public support of arts and culture by reaching out to their elected officials. Sending those letters makes a tremendous difference. Those emails, those phone calls to say, we value arts and culture, and expressing to your elected official that you hope that they will support arts and culture as they make budgetary decisions is really essential in this moment. So if you're a cultural consumer, we hope that you will also be a cultural advocate and really express support for arts and culture, not only by buying tickets, but also by letting elected officials know that it is a worthwhile public investment.
Patty Wilson-Aden is the president and CEO of the Greater Philadelphia Cultural Alliance. Patty, thank you so much for spending time with me and breaking this all down on CityCast Philly.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Let us know what you think about this episode about funding the arts and cultural scene in Philly. You can give us a call or send us a text at 215-259-8170. Also, don't forget, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. And make sure you're signed up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, so you can learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.